And welcome everybody to the Conference USA podcast roundtable. It's another game of the week preview as we have a very intriguing matchup here in Las Cruces between the Owls of Kennesaw State and the Aggies of New Mexico State. Now, I am Jay Gibson, host of Pause Up Podcast. And, we have some familiar faces. Kai, I've seen in person. Of course, Zay made his debut on the roundtable, I want to say a couple weeks ago. But still, how are y'all doing, gentlemen?
I'm doing well. I've been enjoying life recently. Would be enjoying it a bit better if we get back on the win column, though, of course, over at New Mexico State here. But excited to be on, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, same here. Big fan of this November weather we get in Georgia. We get like a 3-week stretch of fall, kind of. So really enjoying it and glad to be back on, Jake.
Oh, yeah, definitely. This fall weather can quick. I hope it can arrive here in South Florida soon because we hit 73 a couple days ago. I thought, all right, we're in that, and then it's like back in the 80s today. So it's been a rough. I don't know when we're going to get that week of good weather that we're promised when we decide to live here in South Florida. I digress. This matchup is intriguing because when you look at the box score, you see, okay, it's Kennesaw State, red hot team, going up against New Mexico State, a team that's been struggling. But when you look a little bit behind the scenes, I feel like there's a chance here for a big time upset alert for the Owls. So I'll start this off with Kai. Damn, all you guys have been doing lately is winning, and I know that from a personal perspective. When you were rocking the Thrashers jersey at the press box at Pitbull Stadium, but just talk a bit about how you feel Kennesaw State more than anything else has maintained this level of success against pretty much all sides of what Conference USA has to offer. The cream of the crop in Louisiana Tech, maybe middle of the pack, Florida National, and most recently the bottom of the barrel in the UTEP Miners.
Yeah, staying relatively healthy has been a big plus. There have been a couple significant injuries, but for the most part, things have fallen in our favor. I mean, the offensive line didn't have any real injury until last week when JT Pennington, one of our better guards, went down. And now he's going to have somebody step in relief. And then Garland Benyard, one of our better linebackers, went down. But like beyond that, they've stayed healthy. And that's allowed, I think, different units to gel. And obviously, when you have two different quarterbacks who can beat teams and you force opponents to game plan for two different guys, that's a serious advantage. And I think you're probably going to see less of the second guy as we move into November here. But still, it's definitely been a luxury. And you got a young coaching staff that just continues to evolve and impress all of us. So until further notice, things are flowing well.
And now, Isaiah, I got to ask this to you. It's been a rough few weeks for New Mexico State, but that's not for a lack of effort. I mean, one-score losses against both Liberty and Missouri State, the latter against the Bears being in overtime. A rough trip to Bowling Green, but I get it. Beating Western Kentucky in Bowling Green isn't for everybody. But I do have to ask you, there's still some positives to – I feel like you had to take away, even from this 3-game skid the Aggies are on.
Man, absolutely we have, but – I said on the show a few weeks back now that this is a team that goes as far as Logan Fife is willing to take us. And unfortunately, recently, we've hit a couple bumps in the road along that journey, but I believe he can get back on track and get things back going the way it was starting to look for a little bit towards the beginning of the season. We can get back right. It's tough, though. We're heading into this week with a lot of injuries. In spots. We're going to be playing without Ezra Christensen right now, which has been our leading defensive lineman with 6 sacks on the season. And of course, Tyler Martinez still isn't really listed. So it's been a rough one. But this is one of them games with New Mexico State. You never really know what to expect. And the USA as a whole has been this whole season. You can't really count any team out in this conference. It's kind of complicated with these games.
Yeah, no, definitely. Weekday CUSA was cinema, though. I think I'll ask you guys here real quick since we have some time, but are we happy that it's we're back to regularly scheduled Saturday football?
I've got mixed feelings. I enjoy the weekday games because obviously when you work the games, work is work, and it gives you your weekend to kind of do whatever you want, and it's great for getting eyeballs and helping push buzz around the program. Especially for us when things were going well. We won all the midweek games, so we got all sorts of good PR and buzz on Twitter. So it was very beneficial for us. That being said, it's good to get back to some level of consistency when the coaches and the players understand what day of the week it is any given day.
And then Zay, from a player perspective to a fan perspective, once weekday CUSA wraps up, are you like hell yeah, or do you enjoy those Tuesday, Wednesday night stints?
Trust me, as a former player, we all hated the weekday games. It's no secret. Nobody's joking or hiding about it. I mean, let's be honest. At the games, it's hard to really sell those games out during the weekdays. It's hard to expect fans to come out on a Tuesday or Wednesday night. But as a fan, I've kind of transitioned from that mind of thought of it, especially not being currently located in Las Cruces. It's really nice having games that are easily accessible online and through national televised games. Compared to on Saturday, you're competing with all the big schools, the Georgias, the Michigans, and trying to actually get teams. Then you got to go hunting for the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. There's good sides to it all. A lot of eyes on Conference USA as a whole, which I think nobody in CUSA really minds as this conference continues to evolve. We'll see what happens next year, a couple of years from now, when they lose, UTEP, La Tech. Maybe they'll add in some new faces. Hopefully sooner than later to get us back up to at least 12, maybe 14. I think 14 is the new 12 as far as members in a conference, it feels like these days. Dare I say that? Kai, this last game against UTEP was a little weird. 33-20 doesn't really scream out blowout, which I honestly thought it was going to be. But you kind of alluded to it earlier. This felt like the New Orleans Saints Taysom Hill kind of days where you have both quarterbacks just kind of come in and do whatever the hell they can, but still, 86 yards for Odom, 68 for Williams. Was that almost dead evenness between both quarterbacks? Was that just a matter of the defensive system UTEP had and how you thought Kennesaw State could take advantage of it, or was there a bit more to the table? And I think he's already said this, but we won't be seeing a style like that for this game against the Aggies.
Yeah, well, it wasn't like a put one guy in on first down, put another guy in on second down type of game. Williams played the whole first half. Odom played the entire second half. Odom has been dealing with a nagging shoulder injury. Mm-hmm. And because of how well Dexter had played both against Louisiana Tech and then towards the end of the game against FIU, it was my guess is, hey, Odom might be 75, 80%. Let's roll Dexter out there because, we still feel good about winning this game with him out there. Odom was significantly better than Williams was. The difference was obvious. And because of that, I don't think you're going to see Williams, peep back up in the mix if Odom stays healthy. Otherwise, or unlike what could have happened if Odom or if Williams had maybe gone out and had the type of game he had against Louisiana Tech. But yeah, it was a strange game. UTEP felt like they threw the kitchen sink at us in the second quarter just to move the ball on offense. It seemed like every play was some sort of end around misdirection, and credit to them, they were creative play designs. But eventually you run out of those play calls, and towards midway through the third quarter, the UTEP offense just started to stall, and the better team took over that one.
Mm-hmm, definitely. And now, Zay, I'm going to turn it over to you with the quarterback situation. Now, you kind of alluded to it, Fife. Has looked good at times, so there's no denying that the nine interception INT number ain't looking too hot. But I feel like even the more concerning thing about Fife is that he has triple the sacks in 21 total. He's been taken to the turf quite a bit this season. Just talk a bit about how much of that is an offensive line issue that the Aggies are dealing with. You mentioned some injuries here and there already, but also just talk a bit about how even through the losses, how the fans and certainly the coaching staff are still continuing to believe in Fife and that maybe he can turn this around in these last few games of the season.
You're absolutely correct. And of course, those struggles came from a lot of those sacks. As a quarterback, it gets kind of tough when you're used to getting hit, and it makes you start to second guess your offensive line. You start looking at the defensive rush coming towards you instead of looking downfield like you should be doing. But honestly, I feel like the offensive line play has picked up from where it was at the beginning of the season. And now Logan, which is partly due to the fact that he was taking so many hits early on in the year, I feel like he's holding onto the ball a little bit longer than he really needs to in certain circumstances. And in terms of belief, I've been the biggest Logan Fife supporter throughout this whole year, but I'd be lying to you if I said Aggie Nation was all the way on that horse still. And I mean, if we're being completely honest here, at this point in the season, it's completely do or die with us being 3-5 heading into this week, and then having Tennessee coming up right after this game. It's kind of a situation where, similar to how Kennesaw has their 2-quarterback system, if Logan's not, going as well as he should be doing, I think it's time we tighten up the leash a little bit and see what the Adam DeMonte kid can do. I've heard he was a big player coming from Arizona, and the fans have been really excited to see him possibly get a chance. So, like I said, I would tighten up the leash a little bit up this week, just to see what can happen. And you don't want to go out on your shield, pretty much.
Well, to ask you personally, then, who, in your eyes, which quarterback do you feel at this very moment can get you that success? Because let's not forget that New Mexico State still has a realistic shot, semi-realistic shot of getting into a bowl game. If you take down Kennesaw, and then obviously you have to go to Rocky Top. It's kind of unfortunate this time of the year to have to be doing that, fighting for a bowl game spot. But then you take on UTEP and Middle Tennessee, 2 very winnable games, I suspect. One of them being, of course, your big rivals. So just which quarterback do you feel more confident at this point to get you to those 6 wins?
Logan has proven throughout the course of the season that he can make the big time throws, but the problem has always been consistency. And I strongly believe if you want to, succeed, especially in a situation where it's do or die, consistency is everything. So early, I would like to see the DeMonte kid and see what he can do, because I've heard big things about him throughout practice and talking with a lot of my guys out there. So I would like to see him get a shot and see what he can at least bring to the table. See, throw him out there early for a drive, see if he can get something going, especially because Logan's not really the most mobile guy. And with him being a bit of a stack at times in his pocket, DeMonte can bring a little bit of a change up, being a little bit more agile.
Definitely. It's always interesting to see these players in college football these last few weeks come in, finally get their shot, and sometimes it absolutely pays off for those teams in question. Now, you lucky son of a gun, you don't have a quarterback problem, quarterback controversy, but if you yourself had to decipher what has been maybe the one part of even through all these 6 wins, you'd be like, damn, really wish the Owls could fix that, get that sort of adjusted so that they can play near perfect football. What would you say that would be at this point?
It's been good at times this year, but the run defense over the past couple of weeks has been very poor. I mean, you saw it against FIU. FIU went for over 200 plus yards on the ground. And like I mentioned, UTEP, they got a little trickier with some of their concepts, but they also ran the ball well at times in that game. So that's definitely something you want to see improve over the last couple of weeks, especially when that unit is the most banged up unit out there. I mentioned Garland Benyard's out for the year. Tylon Dunlap, who's probably your best defensive lineman, was hurt and missed the UTEP game. He's not out for the season, but we don't know when he's going to get back. And then Adam Watkins seems to always be down on the ground in some sort of pain, and it usually ends up being minor. But I think run defense is where this team's really going to need to put it together, especially when you have Cam Cook and Jack State looming the following week. That's going to be the thing to watch, and that's what needs to improve.
Talk a bit more about that Benyard injury and like pretty much the situation now on the offense. Is it as drastic as I feel it could be? I know you have some solid receivers to sort of back him up. I mean, Moss has been an electric player so far, but just of course, that 70-yard touchdown against us. But
it's not Gabriel Benyard. Gabriel Benyard is the receiver. It's his brother Garland who plays linebacker. Gabe is healthy and will be good to go. Garland is out for the season, but that is a starting linebacker and a guy who's been here. He's a fifth-year senior, and likely it's the end of his college career. But it is a pretty big loss. Filling in for him is Taiwan Christopher, who went out and won Defensive Player of the Week in the conference in relief of Garland Benyard. So that was a good thing to see. But obviously, it is a big loss, and you're losing a leader on that defense.
Definitely are. So, I saw the rush defense. Yeah, Owens looked good. Although a lot of that came in. I'd like to say those final couple drives in the game was a little bit out of reach for the Panthers. They finally got things rolling through the air and in the ground. But still, stats are stats. I digress. So I'll ask you guys now. I don't even know how much Kennesaw State's going to be favored by. I think it's like we're nearing double digits. I want to say across most sports books. But what's the one biggest aspect of your team that you feel that you will have the advantage over against the other? We'll start off here with Zay because I'm really interested to hear this as far as New Mexico State and what they can bring to the table here. Kennesaw State is a beatable team. We found that out to start the season, but they're on a hot streak. What's the best thing New Mexico State has that can cool them down?
I feel like throughout the course of the season, we've proven that we have a good enough defense to win games and to keep us in the games, even sometimes when we probably shouldn't be. And our ability to force a lot of turnovers, get a lot of takeaways has been really strong throughout the course of the season, with guys like Nathan Mitchell having 3 interceptions on the year. It's just, I feel like that's what's going to keep us alive. That's something that's going to definitely keep us going. Where we can do our part to help out that defense, though, is getting back to what was working in the weeks prior to WKU, which we started to develop a bit of a run game, which seemed like it was non-existent throughout most of the season. But WKU, I felt like we went back to kind of our older ways where it was super pass heavy, and we felt like there was a huge need to pass, which of course we went down kind of early. So when you get in a situation like that, you kind of feel like you have to. But I just want Coach Sanchez and them to know that you can still run the ball, you can still do that thing, and that type of stuff will help out your defense throughout the course of the game.
Now, Kai, I'll ask you the same thing. There's a lot going right for the Owls, but what's the one thing that you feel like more than anything else they'll have the advantage of over New Mexico State?
Quarterback play. I think a healthy Amari Odom's the best quarterback in Conference USA.
Damn.
And I would be shocked if he didn't go this week. You know, they held him out in that first half, like I said last week, sort of just as a precautionary thing, thinking that Dexter Williams would go out and play better than he did. He didn't. Odom gets into the second half, and just immediately the offense looks completely different. We've talked a little bit about Logan Fife, who I really liked early in the season, but he appears to be reeling. He's had back-to-back really, really rough weeks. So I think quarterback plays where the Owls have the biggest edge here.
That sounds good. Dare you say he's one of the best in are you going to say one of the best in G5, G6?
You know, because of the way this season has unfolded, he doesn't have the numbers to back that up just because he's been on the field about 50% of the time, because he wasn't the starter on day one and, he's been banged up at times. I think that he's got the ceiling of one of the best in the group of 5.
Now I'll turn it over to Zay here now because, we talked about it. New Mexico State needs a win like this, which would be, I'd say, a season-turning win against Kennesaw State. What's the one aspect of the Aggies? It's basically the opposite of the question I just asked. What's the one negative part about the Aggies that you feel like they need to avoid doing more than anything else when you take on a red-hot team like Kennesaw State?
It's the consistencies on offense and not being able to put together a long and sustaining drive. Too many times we find ourselves in situations where we're having 3 and outs. And a lot of that comes from our lack of desire to run the football. If you're coming out there and you're not winning first down, a lot of times it's hard to make something happen in those 2nd and 11s. And 2nd and 11s turn into 3rd and 11 because let's say it's an incomplete pass on that 2nd down.
Yeah.
And when you get in situations like that, our defense has been known as having the bend but not break type of defense. But, a defense can only bend so much before it eventually breaks. And I feel like that's been our biggest, weakness throughout the season, just not being able to sustain drives long term.
Oh, I didn't want to forget to ask you this, by the way, Zay, but does New Mexico State have a sort of kicker problem? I mean, Ryan Hawk 15 for 20. Once you get past the 40-yard marker, it's been a little tough for him to nail those shots. So do they have a kicker problem, or do you think they'll get that sorted?
I believe we'll get that sorted. I have heard that he has been dealing with some nagging injuries throughout the past few weeks. And I wonder if that's contributed to, the lack of accuracy from deep. Because, early in the season, it seemed like he was automatic for sure. But around the time when I started hearing that he might not be the most healthy is when we started seeing him miss some of these kicks and struggle from deeper. So hopefully he can get back right because, I've heard the talent is through the roof. And like I said, earlier in the season, he looked like he was automatic. So I trust him. I believe we can get him back on track.
And Kai, I'll turn it over to you now and ask the opposite of what I asked you earlier. The one part of Kennesaw State's team that you feel like they need to avoid doing more than anything else to not give New Mexico State an edge in any aspect in this game?
Can't let Fife get going. I think as a whole, you can't sleep or underestimate New Mexico State. This is a trap game here. It's in a look ahead spot because you have what's setting up to be the biggest game of the year in the conference the following week against Jacksonville State. And it's you're going all the way across the country to play in New Mexico. These are real challenges. So I think not looking ahead, as simple as that sounds, because you guys have mentioned it already. New Mexico State they've been in several games and had chances to win. So they're better than their 3-5 record would indicate.
And as far as your kicker situation, Britton Williams has been sort of here and there now and then. First of all, what happened to Daniel Kinney? He was perfect, at least at some point this season as far as kicks made. And then what's the situation there with kickers?
Yeah. It's been a strange situation. So Britton Williams was named the day one starter. He's the redshirt senior who's been around a long time. This is the first chance he's gotten to start at place kicker in his college career. I mean, he I think did it at JUCO at one point, but he was the day one guy. He missed an extra point and like a 32-ish yarder against Wake Forest, and if he hits those kicks, Kennesaw State probably beats Wake Forest and isn't in the discussion for the Group of 5 automatic bid all of a sudden. So they benched him quickly after Daniel Kinney started against Indiana. All he did was go 3 for 3 and hit a 50-yarder. And it was like, okay, this should be settled. Kinney tweaked something, so Williams gets pushed back into the starting role. Kinney's recovery was really weird for 3 weeks. They kept on trying to set him up and get him back. Britton Williams, in that time frame, has been steady. You don't really trust him beyond the 40-yard mark, but he's been good enough to where you feel comfortable from inside the 40-yard line. So he's been okay. And my guess is that he might have just won the job back from Kinney in practice. And maybe there's a little bit of, hey, let's hide this Kinney kid because we know what he can do, and let's not rush him back because we want to have that guy have that position taken care of for next year. But that's all speculation.
I got you. I only ask about the kickers because you never know. Weekday CUSA proved that strange things can happen when you line up for a field goal, either just casually or for a game winner here and there. So. Okay, then I'll ask you this, Zay. From an outsider perspective, I feel like this would be a season-turning win. But from an insider's perspective, what really would a win over Kennesaw State at this point mean for the sort of direction of the program in general, not just to close out this season, but moving forward? Know that you do have what it takes to take on some of the cream of the crop in Conference USA.
Oh, this would be a huge win. This would mean so much because, as I said, we're in a situation currently where our back is against the wall because heading into Tennessee, that's not going to be too heavily in our favor for us to go in and, come out of there with a victory. But on top of that, we just hired a whole new athletic director, and having Coach Sanchez, a guy who's in year 2 currently, I feel like you would want to win these games because you want to show that as a coach that you can be the guy that can turn things around and get them back on path like it was in the Jerry Kills days when he was coaching. Because you don't want to give a new athletic director a reason to question you as a coach. So win the games that you're supposed to do, which unfortunately we've been in situations where we've dropped some games where we should have probably won just off of, small things, special teams, people not being disciplined. And so this is like a chance for him to show the new athletic director that this is something that he should believe in, somebody that you can trust as to coach this team and lead us into the future.
And now, Kai, I don't need to ask you what a win would mean. You're trying to compete for a CUSA title game, so I'll ask you a funny question the opposite way. What would a loss mean at this point? How crazy would that sort of flip the script for Kennesaw State as they're competing for a title game with some of the other top dogs like Louisiana Tech, Jacksonville State, who you take on next week, Western Kentucky, and maybe you can even throw Liberty into the mix there.
Yeah, with the schedule setting up the way it does, I think a loss in this spot would actually be survivable. I would rather drop this one than drop to Jacksonville State or Liberty. Because, look, Kennesaw State and Jack State are the only 2 undefeated teams left in the conference. So when you get chances at Jack State and Liberty and you have chances to own those tiebreakers and still surpass those teams, the season doesn't fall apart for you if you lose to New Mexico State. Obviously, it's not ideal, and it only bolsters that cushion if you get the win. So, it is important. But if there was a game to pick to lose on the remaining schedule, it would be this one, funny enough.
And Kennesaw State is in the fortunate spot, unlike New Mexico State, where you're competing for all this whatnot. You don't have to take on a power conference team late in the season, which I can't stand when these group of 5 teams have to do that. I know it's scheduling years and years in advance, but yeah, that's I think I'm rambling on there. No, I don't like it. So
we paid our dues playing Indiana in week 2.
Yeah, well,
they call it their cupcake week.
I know, and when it's against CUSA, I feel like a personal attack because it brings the look of the conference down. I mean, what can you really do? These are some of the best teams in college football.
That's why it felt good whenever we beat Auburn, though, that one year.
That's right. Unfortunately, that game pretty much single-handedly send Pavia out though to.
If I'm being honest with you, I truly feel like the writing was already on the wall before that, though. It was honestly being a part of that team. It felt like in the air. People knew we had accomplished so much, and the talent that we had on that team, it was going to be hard to keep that in this new climate of college football, honestly. So I think it definitely helped.
What's the forecast on Saturdays, eh?
Ooh, I believe it's like, hold on, let me check. I got it pulled up on my phone, actually, because I still have Las Cruces tied to me.
I'm just going to assume it's going to be dry, not much humidity.
Dry. Always dry and super windy, that's for sure. Las Cruces. Let's pull this up. It's looking like it's going to be a high of 80.
Whew. That's right, because it's not a night game. It's like afternoon contest. The sun might still be out over there.
Yeah, it's going to be super dry. I am going to be curious on how Kennesaw is going to adjust to dealing with that, the elevation out there. Because I'll be honest with you, man, going from I came from a school in Kentucky before I transferred to New Mexico State, and that first 2 months out there was brutal adjusting to that elevation because the air is so thin. It's really hard to get your breath out there.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, Kai? Is KSU ready for that elevation?
It's a tough trip for several reasons. Yeah. I hadn't even thought about the elevation too much, but I guess that would be the case. I've been to 43 states, and one of the 7 I haven't been to is New Mexico. So I don't really have an idea of what the climate out there is like. But yeah, I'll say it over and over again. This is a difficult trip and a difficult assignment to take care of.
New Mexico's beautiful, man. You got to go visit sometimes. I got some restaurants I can send you, bro.
Oh, please do. Please do. What city would you recommend first?
Always Las Cruces. I'd stay away from Albuquerque. We're not too fond of those guys over that way, but
oh yeah.
I got you.
Alamogordo is nice. Let me see. Where's some else I really love out there? Those are the real big 2 ones, honestly. You go out there, get you some hatch green chili, try out a place called Andale's Doghouse. I absolutely recommend. It's the best Mexican food you'll find in the country. And then there's a taco spot too out there.
I appreciate it. I've been on every road trip this year with the team, so I'm disappointed that I didn't get to go out on this one. But
you got to knock it out. Yeah, got to get there, man. Eventually, it's El Dorado.
It's hard to get there. It's expensive to get there, but I'll do it at some point. Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right. Final thoughts before we wrap up here, gentlemen. What do you need to let the world know ahead of this matchup between the Owls and the Aggies?
I'll say this. I think we need to let the world know to still believe. As a guy who's played on, some of those New Mexico State football teams, I've been in that position before where our backs was against the wall. Nobody had any faith. That first year with Coach Kill, we started off the season 1-5, and I see a lot of similarities in the team where they have a lot of guys that don't quit. And when you have a guy like Coach Sanchez as your head coach, he's super high in emotion, super passionate about what he does. And I need the players to still have faith and still believe that no matter what, they can still win. I'll tell them something that I was told when I was playing there. There's not a team on that schedule that they can't beat, but there's not a single team on that schedule that can't beat them when they're not playing their game. So they need to stay focused, stay locked in, and focus on the details.
Yeah, Kennesaw State needs to prove that they can take care of business on the road again. This one feels a lot like the FIU game to me, where it's you're going to sort of an odd climate against a team that's shown you some good things and is very capable of beating you. And you need to sort of shut the doubters down and take care of business on the road, where the program has not been very good over the last 3 years.
Definitely. Kai, come on, you're on cloud 9 right now. Let's just keep it real here. After last season, everything that's gone on, not only a bowl game, did you genuinely think not even a bowl game was in the works for this season leading up to it, but that you'd be competing for a spot in the CUSA title game?
Not in the slightest. It's
There
been the
you go.
craziest turnaround I've ever seen. Not at all. And that's why I'm talking the way I do, because I'm still sort of waiting on the other shoe to drop. I feel like at some point it would surprise me. It wouldn't shock me if Kennesaw State dropped this game for absolutely no reason, just because that's how college football works. And like you guys have been saying, New Mexico State, their back's against the wall. It's at their place. This game means a lot to them. But no, I did think that there was a path to 6 wins in a bowl game, just looking at the schedule. But to accomplish that in November, I would have never predicted.
Kyle, you guys really remind me of that Sam Houston team from last year. Their first season in FBS, they struggled like mightily as well.
Yeah.
Heading into year 2, I see a lot of similarities where the team finally got a lot of success.
Yeah. No, I could see that. And, just winning close. It doesn't matter how you win. Like they did all year last year.
Exactly.
So.
Well, hopefully you don't have the third season like Sam Houston is sort of facing right now too. But we'll find that out the hard way next year. So, alrighty then. Thank you, boys, for us hopping on, talking some ball. Kennesaw State, New Mexico State, 3:00 Eastern. So, what is that in Las Cruces time? 2:00 or is it 1?
It's 1:00.
1:00. Okay, I got you. ESPN Plus is where you can watch it too. And Kai already alluded to it, but there are some hella nice matchups next week in Conference USA. Kennesaw State, Jack State. You have 100 miles of hate. Liberty versus FIU, to me at least, personally feels a little bit intriguing. It is our homecoming game, but that gets you even a little bit more motivated. So, alrighty then. Until next time, go watch some football. Thank you for watching the CUSA Podcast Roundtable. Till next time.